It's the depths of winter here in the UK. It's freezing, it's cold, the courses are closed. So this is the time when you're really gonna be using the driving range to work on your golf swing and make next year the best year for your golfing. So I'm gonna give you my top 5 driving range tips to supercharge your practice sessions. So let's start off with tip number 1, which is all about just building good habits when you go to the driving range. You know, we've got to be doing the right thing here if we want to see the results on the golf course. Look, I've seen so many golfers hitting golf balls on the range, and they might take a 7-iron and they might hit 10, 15 shots, and then I'll say to them, what's your target? Where are you trying to go? And they don't know. They're just trying to hit the driving range. Now, if you're trying to hit the driving range, you're going to have a fair bit of success because you're never going to miss the driving range. But we want to be specific with our target. So when I come to the driving range, the first thing I would do would be to look at where the mat is aligned. So this one sends me pretty much between the 100 and the 150 marker. But I want to pick something specific, so a tree, whether it's a marker post, something that I know this mat is aiming towards. Now when I hit shots, I can relate my ball flight to that target. So I can tell that was a little bit of a pull. It started a little left, it flew pretty straight, it finished a little left. I've got a reference point. So you're gonna hit some shots, but vary your target. If you're changing clubs, pick a different target, you know, pick a different marker or pick a tree or pick something on the left. So you're always varying where you're trying to hit the shots. We're also gonna get you to work alignment. Let's say I'm going to now pick a different target and I'm gonna go for the yellow marker, which is right in the distance, probably some 250 yards away. I've only got 8 iron, but I'm just using it as a visual reference. Let's get some alignment sticks down on the ground to help me with that alignment. And I want to take a little bit of time, making sure this is exactly where it needs to be. That one is correct. And they're going to place another one at 90 degrees to that. And this one is for my ball position. So now every single time I set up, I've got a reference for my alignment and I've got a reference for my ball position. So I've got an 8-iron in hand here and I want that ball to be just forward of center. I can see that's the case there. I know my alignment is good. So I now know that I'm set up perfectly to hit towards that yellow marker post. And that one was a touch right. It had a little bit of curve. So I'm starting to relate my ball flight to my target. So build good habits, make sure you've got a target, keep changing that target and work on your alignment and ball position. So the chances are, if you're using the drive range this time of year, it's because you're trying to get better. You're trying to improve something about your game, but there's probably something you're trying to work towards. And if that's the case, I cannot stress enough how important it is to get feedback on what you're doing. Now that feedback can be in different ways. It can be data driven. So you've probably seen before I use the blast sensor. It sits on the end of any of my golf clubs. Gives me data like swing speed, hand speed, tempo, attack angle, really important data. Or I've also got my full swing kit down here, which gives me other sorts of data like ball flights and distances and those kind of data. But it might be just as simple as, you know, using some things in your golf bag. You can place it behind, you can create an obstacle which gives you feedback on what you're doing. I'd also encourage you to use your mobile phone, video your golf swing to see what you're changing. So if you're working on takeaway, you've got visual evidence of what you're doing and what you're trying to work on. Now there's a bonus point at the end of this video to do with video in your golf swing, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. If you really want to develop your game, be able to go on the course and play the kind of golf that you've dreamt of, use the driving range, yeah, to work on your golf swing, but have fun. Imagine you're a kid. Go to the driving range with that really different mentality of trying to have as much fun as you can and basically try and use your tools, your golf clubs, to make the ball do different things. What you're doing there is you're developing skills that you will then use on the golf course to play better golf. So when I went to the driving range as a junior golfer and I went with my mates, yes, I'd do some drills and I'd work on my golf swing, but then, you know, maybe 50% through my practice session, me and my mates would have some fun and we'd take an 8-iron and we might say to each other, okay, let's see who can hook the ball the most with an 8-iron. So what would we do? We'd sort of aim way out to the right and we'd maybe push the ball a little bit further back and then we'd really flip the toe over and we'd get the ball hooking, and then my friend would have a go and we'd give ourselves a point if we did it the most, and then we'd try and hook the ball. And then what would happen is the ball picker would come out to pick up the golf balls, and we'd take something like an 8-iron and we'd try and hit the ball picker. So we'd have to sort of push the ball way back in our stance, we'd have to lean forward, we'd have to drive the ball low, and we were having great fun. But at the same time, what was I doing? Well, I was getting really good at developing the skills that I use today on the golf course. I was learning how to control the club face at impact. I was learning how to control the path. I was learning how to control the loft. I was learning how to strike the ball from different positions. I was learning how to position my body differently around the golf ball. I was developing so many skills that I use when I played golf. But I didn't think that at the time. I was just having fun with my playing partners. So, visualize things out there. Visualize a tree out on the driving range and say to yourself, okay, the green is behind that tree. How am I going to get my golf ball to go around it? So, I would aim way out to the right, as I said, and I'd toe the club in a little bit, and I'd really try and hook that golf ball as much as I can around that tree. So do that in your practice. Make sure that you're having fun, you're creating different flights with the ball, you're using your golf clubs as tools to create different movements on the golf ball. So valuable. Now you're going to get the most out of your range sessions when you turn up with a plan. Not enough golfers do this. There's a difference between practice and hitting balls. If you think right back at the start, we said pick a target, so many golfers don't have a target. That's just hitting balls. If you just rock up here and tip your balls in and look at the range and hit shots, that's great if you want to do that. But that's hitting balls. That's not practice. That's not developing your game. So have a plan. Your practice sessions should really have 4 different aspects or 4 different phases to them. The first one, a warm-up. No good rocking up at the range, pulling driver out, trying to hit it. It's not going to work. You're not going to get great results. So warm up, take a wedge, hit some half shots, get your tempo dialed in, build up to maybe an 8 or a 9 iron, start to get a feel for the swing, start to hit some shots. You're not really at that stage too concerned with direction or targets or ball flights. That's phase 1. Then you're into phase 2, which is when you're going to do your technical work. So what are those swing changes that you're working on? What have you been working on with your coach? Is it takeaway? Is it setup? Is it club face position? Is it different curve on the golf ball? That's when you're going to do your technical work with your drills, with your exercises that you've been prescribed for your game. Phase 3 is to develop skills. Now, how do we do that? Well, what did we say in the last point? You have fun. You play some games. You create different ball flights. You hit low shots. You hit high shots. You hit right to left shots. You hit left to right shots. And then lastly is phase 4. This is the one that's often overlooked, but so important. This is transfer. How do you take that new swing that you've worked on and make sure you do it on the golf course? Hitting balls one after one after one after one after one will not transfer to the golf course. So if you're transferring your skills, you need to try and replicate the golf course as much as you can. So what would that look like? Well, that would look like hitting a driver, but actually going through your full routine, picking a fairway, visualizing a fairway, hitting a drive to that fairway. Then it's got a result. You've missed or you've hit the fairway. Club goes back in your bag, you pull out maybe an 8-iron, and you pick a target, which is the green. You go through your full routine and you hit a shot to the green. You're changing the club every single time and you're replicating the golf course. The other thing you can try and do in this phase is build a bit of pressure. So you might give yourself a fairway and you might say, right, I've got to hit 7 of my drives out of 10 in that fairway before I can go home. You're starting to build some pressure. So the last phase is actually trying to transfer those skills that you're working on here onto the driving range. And the last point, incredibly important, hard to do, be patient. Swing changes are difficult, they're not easy, it takes time. Currently, I'm trying to work on my club face. How long have I been trying to work on that? About 25 years, and I'm still working at it. Your golf swing, you don't really think about it as trying to fix those because you can never fix your golf swing. It's an ongoing, never-ending process. So I've had my golf swing previously where it's been really, really good. I've been really happy with it. It's not fixed because I'm always going to want to work back to where my tendencies are. So it's an ongoing process. And to go to the driving range maybe twice or 3 times and think you can fix your golf swing is unrealistic. And you're going to be disappointed. And you're going to look at the camera and go, oh, it's no good. So be patient. The other point to note as well is you might be doing some drills. And you might have been given those drills by a golf coach, which is great. And what are those drills doing? They're there to highlight and work on the parts of your golf swing that you're not very good at. So there's a very good chance that you're going to find those drills hard. And the number of lessons I've given where we've maybe worked on, let's say it's an impact drill, where I want the golfer to sort of finish here because they tend to get a little flippy. and they might hit a couple of shots and they might go, oh, I can't do that. Have you got a different drill? And I'm like, that's the point of doing the drill, because it's meant to be difficult. So when you go to the driving range and you're really working on your swing and you're really trying to put the work in, it might not be as easy as you want it to be. It might be difficult. You might have to use a bit of mental energy and mental capacity to work on it. So be patient. Stick with the drills. Don't expect it to change overnight. And when your swing does start to look better and you look at it and you go really happy with that, you're really proud of the work you've done, it's not finished. You're going to have to use the range to maintain that golf swing. A little bonus tip. These are phenomenal for working on your golf swing. I spoke previously about feedback. Phone and video in slow motion is a great way to do that. But where you position the camera is so important. Just have a look at these two swings. These were taken pretty much simultaneously, one after the other. And all I did is I moved my camera position by around about this much. Okay, and you can see just how different the golf swing looks. So if you're putting your camera or your phone in slightly different positions each time you practice, your swing is going to look very different. You're not going to get that feedback that you want. So make sure you always position the phone in the same place every time. For me, it would be directly on the hand line, directly back, and about the same height every time. Try and get it there every single time, and when you look at your golf swing, you're always looking at it from the same viewpoint. So important that you do that.